Hi guys, thanks for tuning into the channel today. Just thought I'd do a short-term review on the Interceptor I bought a couple of weeks back, and thought we'd do it today on the bike. Got the camera on there, we'll see how things fire. One thing I will mention about this Interceptor, and I'll bring it to others' attention, one thing about the bike is there's not many bikes you can buy which, if you could do a trip back in time to say 1969, I think you could park this bike in amongst all the other bikes of that era, you know, like a 750 Honda or a few of the other bikes, and it'd sit right in amongst those 69 model bikes as if it was brand new and no one had taken any notice of it. And anyway, that's my thought on it, and that's what I really like these Enfields, and that's why I really keep going back to them bike after bike, because that's the thing that appeals to me about the bikes in general. But anyway, we'll get on to this. So this bike is, I've had this now for about, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and things are going really well on the bike. The things we could talk about, they're a pretty easy bike to live with. I find the bike itself a nice, easy bike to get onto. Seat and position is, you know, slightly on the firm side, which is fine by me. A previous bike was a Himalayan, and Himalayan has a little bit of a softer side per seat, and this one's more like a plank, so it's a little bit harder to ride on, which in my case is a little bit better for me. I'm used to riding Enfields, and mainly the classic 500s, and they've got a very hard seat, so it's good in that respect. The riding position, as far as handlebars, you have to lean a little bit, but not much, so it's fairly more an upright and beg position, so that's good. I'm cruising along now at 80 kilometres an hour. Really, you don't get any vibration through the handlebars. You get a little bit of a buzz, but apart from that, you know, all is fine in that respect. When you look into the mirrors, they're a fairly clean look, so, you know, compared to right on 80 now, that's the sweet spot for a classic 500. That's once you step over that 80, then they get into a bad case of, in most cases, that they've got the shakes. But, you know, I can see out of these mirrors quite easily. So overall, it's a you know, not a bad place to be. And the brakes are really nice, you know. These ABS brakes on this bike, you can come into it, and these stoppers will slow you down really well. Now, as far as fueling goes on this bike, this particular bike, my opinion is it's got the best fuel injection of any of the Enfields. I've never had any dead spots or choking or anything like that. I've had two of these Interceptors this year, and I've never had to, no problem at all starting the bike any time. And you know, they've been really good starters. Just come out, press the button, and away they go. I usually give them a couple of minutes to start with, you know, a couple of minutes once you kick over, and then you're ready to go. At this stage, I'm just running the bike in up to about 80 kilometres an hour. You can run along with that in 6th gear, no trouble, which is roughly 3,000 revs in that top gear. I have struck a bit of a problem, or a minor issue, with this bike compared to the previous one I had. I've had a couple of false neutral issues with the bike. I've probably hit neutral about, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 times, somewhere in that vicinity, always from 5th gear going into 6th, so that's been a bit of an issue. Now, I don't know whether that's been the cause of, the main cause has been because of the running oil, you know, like I never experienced it on my previous bike, but that was from a different dealer, and I don't know whether or not this has got a different type of running oil, but you know, when it goes into its first service and it probably goes full synthetic, that may make a difference. And I don't recall the first one had a little bit less vibe in the handlebar side of it, and I wouldn't call it a vibe, I'd call this more like a buzz. So that's a bit hard to say, but apart from those couple of items, I did notice between both bikes, and I noticed when you're going along hit bumps, both bikes have got a more clunk when they hit when the front suspension hits bumps. So, you know, up in the front end, they are both a bit clunky in the front end of the steering. So, you know, you will go along and you'll hit a rough bit of bump, and you'll hear a bump or a clunk. And I suppose that all goes with the 10 grand purchase price in Australia of these bikes. But you know, if you said to yourself, what do I really think of the bike? Well, I really like the bike, and I really like the classic styling, and you know, I'm very satisfied with the bike. And you know, people that have been on this channel would also know that I've come from quite a few bikes this year. You know, I've had this and the Triumph, and I had the Triumph Street Scrambler, that was new, and the Honda CB500X, and you know, they were both nice bikes. The Honda CB500X, you know, you can't fault that bike. It's very hard to show any favouritism towards the bikes. I don't think you could, you know, if you're going for a big run around Australia, the CB500X would be a very hard bike to beat, and I think it would be, you know, I would probably pick that bike if I was going to go for a ride around Australia. But if you just want to go quick bursts out along the road or around the back roads and stuff like this, this would be a good choice too. So but I really like how this one whistles along as you go, and I just like that this one's got that 1970s look or styling, and it sort of brings you back to the 1970s, and you know, you can sort of, it's almost like reliving your youth, or that's what I think. So you know, these are the things I like with this particular bike. I like the instrumentation, that's good, the old Speedo tacker, and I'll pull that down further, you can have a bit of a look at it. But this one, first one I had was Ravishing Red, this one's the chrome version. So you know, I missed out on chrome the first time round, and I thought this time I'd go for the for this chrome version. Okay guys, a few specs on the bike. These weigh in 200 kilos. They run 18-inch wheels front and rear on Pirelli Phantom tyres. They got roughly a 13 litre fuel tank. They got a 6-speed box. Top speed roughly 180 kilometres an hour, or so they say. Lighting system is all bulbs, so you're talking headlight, indicators, tail light, nothing LED on this bike. We got a 650cc motor putting out 47 brake horsepower, naturally chain drive. We got a dual channel ABS braking system, and naturally we've got a nice little oil cooler here to help keep the motor a bit on the cooler side. Best thing about on this particular one for Royal Enfield, the oil filter is sitting right at the front of the motor, so it's easy access for an oil change. So that's some of the minor points for this bike I just thought I'd like to point out. So overall everything's nice and easy to get at. It's a nice bike to ride. If anyone hasn't, or if anyone's on the shelf thinking about one of these bikes or would like to take one for a run, I'd highly recommend it because it's a very nice bike to ride. It's comfortable, handles well, really suitable for a beginner, mature rider, anyone that sort of likes this style of bike. So if you're out there on the shelf thinking about buying one, head off to your Royal Enfield dealer, jump on one, take it for a ride, and I think you'll be pretty impressed by it. So overall, thanks for tuning in, taking a look.